Hi, my name is Matt Campbell. I'm a member here at Avon United Methodist Church, and I've been a member here with my wife and our kids, our family, for the past 7 to 8 years. Moved from the east side of town all the way over to the west side. So it does happen. Sometimes we move from east to west in Cleveland. But Pastor Micah asked me to share a little bit of how Jesus has changed my life. So I think a little bit about me. I actually grew up in the Methodist Church, so I've been part of UMC really my whole life. So Jesus has always been a part of my life. Um, from saying grace before meals at home, attending church regularly, prayer time before bed, reading the Bible. I think all of those disciplines were definitely part of who I was when I was growing up. So I had that sort of that cerebral knowledge of what it means to be a Christian, to be a Methodist specifically. I think what really changed for me was probably in high school. In youth group, we had a youth pastor who came in, and a youth group leader specifically who was willing to start a Bible study for the guys in the group. And I think that's really where my heart opened up, and I learned what it was like to actually love Jesus uh, from the heart, not just from a knowledge perspective. And I think that sort of that hilltop moment during those Bible studies really changed me and helped point me in a direction where I was no longer just trying to absorb everything that I was learning. As a child growing up through church, not just learning the gospel through osmosis, but actually more trying to live it, if you will, and opening up my heart to what Jesus was calling me to do. And so I think when I think of that question, how has Jesus or God changed my life? I think the short answer is he changed me, right? And how I operate as a human, that I'm now now view myself as a disciple, a son of God, someone who actively seeks out following and living as God has called me to live, or at least do my best to live up to that calling. I think the one word that really kind of sticks out in my mind is freedom, which I think is kind of a paradoxical word. I remember in college, I had a really healthy conversation with a classmate who happened to be an atheist, and a really interesting conversation about what it means to be a Christian, and the perspective that he took was this was someone who followed these rules, right? The Bible's there. It has hundreds of rules and laws, especially from the Old Testament, and so that seems to be restrictive. But I think having that discussion helped me realize that it's not really the freedom that we have is the freedom in knowing who we are, and not having to spend our life trying to find and figure that out, right? I know when I accepted Jesus that I'm part of the body of Christ, that I'm a disciple for Him, and I don't have to spend my life searching for that answer of who I am. So I think that's a big way Jesus has changed my life and changed me, has given me that freedom to know who I am, and that I'm part of that family. I think the big thing that's been on my mind recently, the past year or so, is the act of listening, and trying to be that active listener to hear those whispers of God. For a long time in my life, I used to joke that I feel like God needed to throw me a brick for me to hear something, like just throw me a brick, hit me in the head. And I think what I've realized, well, that's still true many times. I think it's more of a shift that I should be listening and I should be focusing. And I think that's probably the single thing that Jesus has been speaking to me recently, is that it's a choice. It's a choice that I make, a choice that we all make every day when we wake up to continue to remain a disciple, a follower of Jesus. And it's that choice that matters. That's the choice that I'm making to listen, the choice that I'm making, and the millions of minutiae of decisions we make in a day to think, how would Jesus respond in this situation? And I think those are the choices that make a difference, that allow me to continue to grow, and continue to grow and be a true disciple for Jesus.